Welcome to the last 10 finale of our Ibadah camp. We have, insyaAllah, saved the best for last. Okay. But before I proceed to introduce our speaker today, let me invite first our Dean, Professor Dr. Shukran Abdul Rahman. And I think this would also be...
Assalamualaikum.
So please, Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin. Thank you, Dr. Lihanna, Professor Datuk, Dr. Asma, Ismail, my brothers and sisters. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us in the last session of Ibadah Camp 2020. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Professor Datuk Asma to our big kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences. So we have in this kuliah 5 departments of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and 5 departments of Human Sciences. In addition to this 10, we have 1 department which offers courses to all students in the university. Right, so every semester we host about 10,000 students who come from outside the kuliah who take general studies from us. So we are manned by about 218 academics of different ranks. We have 19 professors. We have now 9 junior lecturers, about 9 lecturers. So we have the most senior and then the most junior rank of academics in the kuliah. So we believe that Datuk Asma will be helping us today in guiding us on how to become effective academics so that we fulfill our Amanah as Khalifah on this earth. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very lucky, very fortunate this afternoon to have Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, who is very experienced, knowledgeable in the field of higher education management, higher education leadership, in addition to her own specialization, which is microbiology, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So thank you. We are very delighted to have you, although on virtual form. Inshallah, we will visit you one day when situation allows. Over to you back, Dr. Lihanna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. I would also once again extend the kuliah's warm welcome to Professor Dr. Asma, and I would just like to, virtually welcome you to the kuliah. And I would like to say that a lot of the young female lecturers here are actually very excited. They have actually shared with me how excited they are that you are going to be here. But, and if I were to read, and I am going to just briefly introduce, not that Prof. Dr. Asma really need to be introduced, but we will, okay, just so that we will continue, inshallah, to be inspired, okay, by Prof. Asma, okay. We all know that she is a woman of many firsts. The first female Vice Chancellor of University of Sciences Malaysia, the first female Vice Chancellor of University of Science Malaysia, the first female Director General of Higher Education, and currently the first female President of Academy of Sciences Malaysia, a post she currently holds. And she is also the first female to be Chairperson of the Malaysian Qualifications Agency. We are so lucky to actually now have her with us. She is now holding the post, the Ibn Sina Chair for Medicine in IIUM under the Office of Campus Director. So, given her many years of service and excellent contributions, some of the things that we are also recipients of, we would be the the establishment of the National Academic Award, the Anugerah Akademik Negara, the establishment of the research universities in Malaysia, and also the Malaysian Education Blueprint Higher Education. Okay, so we are indeed very blessed to be hearing from her firsthand. This would not be my first time listening to her, but I would listen again and again. Alhamdulillah. So this is, inshallah, everybody will spend the rest of the time listening to her, and we'll have the way it's going to be done is that it's going to be 1 hour of her. Of Datuk talk after this 1 hour, and then there will be question and answer. We can have, some of you will be able to ask directly via this platform, or if you have problems, you can also do the chat and I will read out the answer, inshallah. Okay, so again, we welcome you, and over to you, Datuk.
Okay. Let me get the slides up. Let me get the slides up and then let's see. Okay, can you see? Nampak?
Yep.
Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Thank you so much, Dr. Lihanna, for the kind introduction, and also Professor Shukran for the kind introduction. So, apa khabar semua? Dan harapnya semua berada dalam keadaan sihat walafiat walaupun dalam keadaan MCO sekarang ni. Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada Dekan Profesor Shukran Abdul Rahman dan juga pihak penganjur Ibadah Camp kerana menjemput saya untuk berkongsi idea pada petang ini, dan my special thanks to Professor Shukran, in fact, for the frank discussions that I had with you on what are the how do I understand the concepts of Islamic leadership, especially within the context of IIUM. Thank you very much, and thank you also to Dr. Lihanna for becoming the moderator for this afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of these days I should be able to see you in person, but for now, let me start by talking about the topic that was given to me today, which is academic leadership, a means to internalize the concept of Khalifah. This is what I will be covering today. Knowing, first of all, if you want to be a leader, if you want to talk about academic leadership, it is very important that we all understand the big picture. And then I will be discussing what the big picture is all about, and about leadership and what it takes to be a leader, qualities of a leader. Leadership, of course, in a university setting, we are talking about academic leadership for teaching and learning, leadership in terms of research, leadership in terms of administration. Then I would like to discuss about how do we operationalize academic leadership. I mean, we hear so much about it, but how do we operationalize that in IIUM? Especially if you want to move into leadership in teaching and learning, leadership in research, and how to become, essentially, after we listen to all this, at the end of the day, you need to understand and probably to prepare yourself, especially how to become a leader by design. And how do we now, the senior academics that is there in the kuliah, how do you empower the young academic now to become leaders? Because we've got to have layers of leaders that comes out from the kuliah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my disclaimer. My area, my forte is in medical biotechnology, molecular medicine. Basically, I'm not an expert in Islam and leadership. You are. You are the expert, and but basically I can talk about values-based academic leadership in higher education based on experience. And I hope that when I start to discuss about this values-based academic leadership, you can now see, you can now be able to put this in perspective from the Islamic point of view. Let me start by saying that to lead okay, in your own microcosm or in your own world where you are a teacher and you have a lot of students with you, the undergraduates, so you have a lot of, I mean, you have 10,000 undergraduate students, so that's a large number. And if you are a supervisor to your graduate students, it is very important that you understand the big picture, because if you don't understand the big picture, then you will give a very myopic picture to the students, and that's not good for the future generation, because the world is changing, and this is changing at an incredible speed, and therefore we all, including me, all have to catch up with what's happening in the world today. And basically, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a changing world that is facing many, many unknowns, right? So we have the accelerating pace of change due to the digital age. We have the disruptive technologies brought by Industry 4.0. We have global competition due to globalization. Then we have the problem now of climate change. Of course, we are now facing global economic crisis, and now everybody around the world is facing the COVID-19 pandemic. And all these have created a disruptive change in higher education. So with all this in perspective, what exactly is the world or global agenda? And from this global or world agenda, this new era that we now face will now demand new education, new ways of education, and new research paradigms in how we do our work. Now we have gone through the hunter-gathering agricultural age, which is about manually. Then we went through the industrial age. Then we are moving into the knowledge-based economy or knowledge-based. Then we are now moving to bio-green economy. But finally, end game for now is to move to humanization economy, or what we call humanization economy age, where we are now talking about wisdom, we are talking about moral, we're talking about spiritual. So this is from the secular point of view, but essentially what we are coming back to, the world agenda essentially is coming to values-based, is coming to R&D with impact, is coming to essentially Islamic values. Whether they realize it or not, the world is moving to that aspect in terms of wisdom, moral, and spiritual. So when we start talking about wisdom, we are now saying, what have you done with the knowledge that you have generated? So, and therefore, this knowledge must now be used to benefit the people. And therefore, what we need to do is we should now use the intellect that we have to provide solutions to global and local challenges. So in short, ladies and gentlemen, what we are saying here is that the future concentrates on outcome or impact to humanity, which is key result indicator, rather than just output, which is dissemination, publication, which is basically part and parcel of the KPI. So if you are now saying, okay, wisdom, what have we done with the knowledge? Because end game is whether the knowledge that we produce and generate, did it benefit the people or the ummah? So basically right now, you can see there are so many global challenges that you have now the breadth and depth to provide solutions for. Today, our world, we are facing with a confluence of very pressing challenges. That we have a problem of population growth that is ever increasing. We have the problem of food security that is ever decreasing. We have a problem of climate change that is exacerbated by the amount of green gas emission that we are now, greenhouse emission that we are now producing, the carbon dioxide that is creating a lot of problems. Then we have a problem about energy security. Our fossil fuel, we are not having enough, so we need now to have renewable energy. And of course, we are plagued with the human disease, both communicable and non-communicable disease that we are now facing, right? And then we have, of course, the problem of economic uncertainty. So there's a lot of solutions that you should be providing for. But don't go very far. Let's just take the world. What will happen in the world in 2050? We're going to face a world population of 9.7 billion, basically about 10 billion by 2050. And when we hit that figure, we're going to need 70% more food in the world to be produced, right? And not only that, for moving the food agenda, we need to have 55% increase in water demand, in usable, drinkable water. We need to have that. And not only that, we are going to see that there is going to be a rapid move from the kampung or the village. We are now seeing a rapid urbanization. That means people are now moving to the urban areas. About 5.6 billion around the world is now moving towards urban areas. And we now have the problem of poverty. 1.12 billion will continue to live in poverty, and with poverty comes all the other problems that is associated with it. But Malaysia is also facing this problem, the problem of aging. Because of the healthy sum of the people now, and because our health condition is now better, a lot of us now will face the problem of aging. 1.5 billion people will now face the problem of aging. And then how do we now cope with all the situation when there is no more, not enough of the younger generation, but more of the older generation who's going to take care of them? And that is how in Japan, they now come up with a solution of robotics that they now take care of the aged. So these are some of the problems of the world. And basically, if we do not take care about sustainable development today, there is no world to be passed on to the future generation. That's what I'm trying to say. And therefore, what are the solutions to the challenges? These are some of the knowledge that is now required from the academics to now provide this kind of solution. Okay, let's not go very far. Let's not talk about, let's talk about what IIUM is about. You are now set up by the government to be able to help people from the OIC. But if you look at the economic disparity among the Muslim nations, look at the number of Muslim nations, right? The low income, the lower middle income, all these are poor, all right? And if you look at the number of high income countries, you can count by your fingers. There's only about 5. And Malaysia only belongs right here under upper middle income. And it has been said, some Muslim scholar has already calculated that if we give sedekah, that among the high income and the upper middle income, we could probably provide all the food that is needed by the low income and lower middle income countries. But what I'm trying to say here is that if now Malaysia, what kind of impact are we now giving to the Muslim world? Can we in Malaysia help the OIC basically compete in the new economy by training its future generation? Come on, let's face facts. In reality, Shukran talked about 10,000 students. They are all mainly coming from Malaysia or coming from the OIC. But all students come to IIUM with hope, right? Students from the OIC countries, as I see it, come to IIUM for hope. And the question then is that, are we nurturing them with knowledge, the right kind of knowledge, and with 21st century competency and skill, for them to now become agents of change, not just to have a student that complete and got their degree. I mean, you talk about KhAIR, but at the end of the day, let's talk about, are they agents of change that when they return home, they can now make a difference to their country, to the people in their country, as stipulated in Mission 2 of IIUM. So these are some of the questions that we also need to have to be able to address. Again, let's not go very far. Let's come back to our country. We talk about Malaysia. After 64 years, what has Malaysia achieved? All right. So basically, if you look at the global innovation index, we are 35. This is the iceberg. Usually, 10% of the iceberg is seen. The 90% of the iceberg is never really seen. And basically, this is what I'm trying to tell you. On the top of the iceberg, you will see, oh, we are global innovation index. That means we are innovative. We are 35, 129. But essentially, in the bottom of the iceberg, when you talk about product innovation, we are nowhere, 130, about 137. If you look at market, we are the 24th largest exporter in the world, but actually we rank 53 out of 63 in participation in the global value chain. If you look at competitiveness, sounds fantastic. We are 22 out of 63, but essentially, if you look at the labor productivity, we are 44 out of 63. Patent applications, are we doing research that is novel? Are we patenting them? We rank in the world at 44 upon 63. And do we have enough novelty to create startups? And we are ranked at 56 out of 63. All right. In terms of knowledge, let's say we are hung up on publication and we're producing books, we're producing journals and papers, etc. More than 120,000 research publications since 2013. 39% are high impact. But if you ask the question about wisdom, what have you done with the knowledge that you have generated? We are so far down. We are 71 out of 129, because as far as knowledge creation is concerned, we are not there yet to be able to convert the knowledge that we have disseminated or published to now make it of benefit to the rakyat or even to the industry in the country. So essentially, in terms of startup skills, we are also nowhere. So ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to say here is that after 64 years, our country's competitiveness is driven by good talent and infrastructure, but definitely not by innovation. And therefore, we need to move our innovation capacity and skills. And at the end of the day, we see that we are poor in product innovation, we are poor in patent application per capita, we are poor in knowledge creation, and we are poor in startup skills. Okay, ask me why. Why are we poor in all this after 64 years? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the data produced by Academy of Science, that Malaysian researchers are mainly in the higher learning institutes, therefore limiting innovation and capability of the industry. Take a look at all the other countries that is supposed to be innovative, that is supposed to be competitive in the new economy. Look at Korea. A lot of the researchers are essentially in the blue, is in the business sector, with government, with higher education, which is in the red at 9.98, and some non-profit agencies 6.7. If you look at Switzerland, you look at Japan, 74%, they are all in the business sector. You look at Denmark, Singapore, don't go very far, our neighbor, about 50% are there. And then you look at United Kingdom. But look at Malaysia, a whopping 79.92% essentially is in the universities, right? And very few are essentially in the business sector. That's why we cannot move innovation, all right? And even Thailand is doing better than us, okay? So basically what we are saying here is that Malaysian R&D is neither industry nor impact driven, since it is mainly located in the public sector. And even if it's located in the public sector, it's not a problem, provided the public sector transfer the knowledge to the private sector. But we also don't do that, all right? Why? Because there is an innovation chasm, or the lack of trust between the people, the researchers in the university and the private sector or the business sector. So we have a big chasm that is there, and that's why I think higher education is promoting for academia industry linkage, but essentially this is something that we need to work on. Okay, let's not go very far. Let's talk about the social science and the humanities that is there in the kuliah. Let's talk about reaching the unreached in Malaysia, all right? If we are now discussing about community enhancement, okay, you don't want to talk about technology, let's talk about social science, let's talk about humanities, let's talk about helping people reaching the unreached in Malaysia. We have so many poor and marginalized children that grew up without clean water, without electricity, without internet, going to schools that lack teachers, with parents that did not complete secondary schools to even guide them. What about their future? Who's looking into this? Who will champion them and believe that they too deserve a better future? So basically, ladies and gentlemen, as a Khalifah, we cannot say that our responsibility and accountability is only about knowledge generation and only about publication. To me, I think that the knowledge that we generate must result in societal transformation. If it doesn't do that, then to me, that's not good knowledge. So basically, what we need to do now is to deal with impact or outcomes and stay, and then not just concentrating on outputs, all right? So this is the time basically to reset the button for higher education. So with all the challenges that we face, we are faced with COVID-19 pandemic. On top of that, we are faced now with COVID-19 pandemic that has caused a transformational change in education. And for the first time, COVID-19 is unprecedented. Yeah? So we are facing with an unknown that has caused a total change in our lives. We are now doing online learning. We are wearing masks now. We are doing physical distancing and work from home as what we are doing now. And we're doing online webinars and meetings, right? So Before we don't do this, now it looks like this is the normal way to do things. And these virtual conferences, virtual seminars, these are all the normal way. And COVID-19, therefore, we should see this as an opportunity to reset higher education. If not the universities, who else that need to now play a major role to shape the post-COVID-19 world? And we can do so by reshaping higher education itself, as what IIUM, I believe, had done with the formulation of the Sejahtera Academic Framework, right? So I have read the framework. I believe that the framework is version 1.0. There is a need to, of course, better the framework, but it's better to start with something than nothing at all, to have this framework. So, but my point is that any new framework, whatever we want to do, any new framework now must have discussions with the stakeholders. We must have, before we formulate the framework, we need to have discussion with the quadruple helix, the government, the industries, the civil societies, and the academia. It's not good enough just among academics. We also need to see, because for the sake of our students that we are nurturing, because our students end game are going now to be working in the companies, they will be working in the government sector, they will be working in the society. They are not just working in a small area, they are everywhere. And they can be even a global player. So basically, what I'm trying to say now is that any framework that we provide, now we cannot afford to work in silo. We have to work together. And my point is that I just want to say this: no more shock sendiri, let's shock the ummah and nation, okay, as we now go forward. It's also time to ensure that the curriculum that we are teaching is addressing values-based. Because what did I say? The global agenda is moving to values-based. So this is in line with what IIUM is trying to do. So basically, values-based is where the world is moving, not just IIUM. And therefore, when we start to move to values-based, this is also the era of convergence of knowledge. And this is now where we need to show now integration of knowledge between the arts, the humanities, the science and technology. Combine that with experiential learning and with religion and spirituality. There's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of things that is happening in this way now, which is a convergence of knowledge. And therefore, we should start by having interdisciplinary components or integrated knowledge that now strengthens why we need to provide solutions to certain global problems. Why we need to provide solutions to SDG, why do we need to provide solution to climate change, and why we need to provide this solution with appreciation of our local values and our global values. Why is there a need for us to now make sure that our students, the future generation, are entrepreneurial mindset that is impact driven? I don't say entrepreneur, but entrepreneurial mindset, working with the end in mind. And creating impact. And I think this is also the time to perform research of impact, so that the knowledge generated can be of benefit to the people. And it's also time, although in pressing times like this, whereby we find that the universities are charging students a lot, but now that we are moving things online, we are reducing now even the tuition fees, all right, because they don't have to be on campus anymore. But but only certain who are doing skill-based, they still have to be on campus. But this is also a time to have a new business model, all right? This is the time for us to change the university to a university that does public good. A university that produces balanced graduates, balance between knowledge and character, akhlak dan ilmu, with an entrepreneurial mindset that is confident. What I see lacking in our students nowadays is the lack of confidence. They have the knowledge, but they cannot say it, they cannot speak it out, they cannot express themselves, they are not confident. The other thing is to have jati diri. This is something we don't discuss, but at the end of the day, we don't want to have our students to have an identity crisis. They have to have jati diri, especially when they want to be a global player. Because if you don't have jati diri and you're out there, you're like a lalang, you know, you just go whatever the wind blows. That is not the point. We are Malaysians. If we are Malaysian, then we have to have jati diri. and be a global player that appreciates unity in diversity. And we are so blessed because Malaysia, we have diversity, but we need to now inculcate unity in diversity. Diversity of culture, diversity of religion, diversity of races, because if you did, it's part and parcel of becoming a global player. So the future generation has got to be a smart generation, not just bijaksana smart, clever smart, but smart in terms of digital. Because they need to understand this is the way forward now, because the digital agenda is here to stay. And they must be equipped, therefore, with 21st century competency and skill that is a job creator, or even better, a change maker. This is the word I want to use, a change maker, but with intrinsic values, all right? So this is what IIUM is coming out with, Insan Sejahtera. So basically, if this is the way forward, this is what we want to do, then this calls now for leadership transformation at every level of the university. So if we talk about leadership, all right, being a leader has gender attached to it. If you say this is a leader, so leader has a gender attached to it. A leader can be a male, or a leader can be female, right? But if you talk about leadership, then leadership is gender neutral. Basically, it's genderless, right? And you want to be able to define leadership, but leadership is hard to define. It's there are many definitions. If you look in the books, there are many definitions for leadership, and they are varied. But in Islam, as Khalifah, everyone is a leader with the responsibility to lead humankind to the right path. But then again, among us, there are leaders of leaders, right? And basically, in short, I would say that leadership is the ability to lead, to motivate, to inspire people, and end game to be able to produce results. So some of the qualities of leadership, I think you can match that with the Islamic values. It has to be a role model, demonstrating honesty, values, integrity, be charismatic, articulate, energize, always learning and support people. Be an inspirer, basically be visionary, to set direction, encourage risk-taking and experimentation. To be an enabler, this is very important, to help people grow. And usually when you are a leader, this is some of the responsibilities that you have to think about and do, to how to help people grow, how to empower others, to build teams, to build collaborative relations, and to leverage on diversity and build synergies to collaborate. And of course, you want to be an achiever as well, to focus on results, to make sure that we are persistent and we discover and pursue opportunities, lead change, and learn from feedback. So, okay, these are the qualities of the leader. But, you know, in the university setting, we have to talk about leadership in academic, which is teaching and learning, leadership in research, leadership in service, especially for those in the medical and the health campus. They have to talk about service. And finally, we have to talk about administration, all right? So, before I go into detail on that, let me discuss first what are the role and expectations of universities in the 21st century, all right? Basically, we are supposed to generate knowledge, okay? We are able to do that. We are supposed to generate knowledge, and that's why we get this KPI to publish, or to write books and to write journals, etc. So we disseminate, or we give lectures, we give seminars, we give kuliahs, we give all these things. These are ways and form of disseminating knowledge. All right, but it doesn't end there, ladies and gentlemen. To make sure that people benefit from that knowledge, you need to move to the next level, which is translating that knowledge to value creation. All right, and you can do that through innovation and also through entrepreneurship. And you cannot generate, disseminate, and translate if the knowledge is not relevant. So you have to create relevant knowledge, all right? And therefore now, this is where you can provide this relevant solution through real world experiences. That means experiential learning, being out there in the community is very important. Being out there in industry is very important to allow you to understand what exactly do they need from us. So this is important. And as a university in the 21st century, we are supposed to be the engine of growth for the nation, so that the nation is prosperous, the nation is progressive. So basically we need to do that, and we can't do that if we're just staying in our office. So we have to now be able to create commercialization of R&D of products and development of knowledge-based industry, or if we are interested in community engagement, the development of social enterprises, right? And then as academics, we are also training the change makers of tomorrow, the Insan Sejahtera group. Okay, so basically I think what Tan Sri is talking about KhAIR, all right? So we are basically producing knowledgeable, values internalized, not just values based. A lot of people are saying, oh, values based is good enough. So to me, it's not good enough, because you can read about values, you can hear about values, but if it's not internalized, the cup is not there to be able to make sure that you are, the moral compass is not there to move you. So that is also to me not good enough just to say values based. So for me, it's values internalized that is equipped with competency and 21st century skills that are balanced and harmonious with intercultural competency. And this is the other word I want to discuss about. I like to talk about respect and understanding than the word tolerance, because I see in the SAF is also talking about tolerance. Tolerance, today I tolerate you, tomorrow I don't tolerate you, then I get very upset with you. But if you want to have intercultural competency in order for us to live unity in diversity and also to be a global player tomorrow, there must be respect and understanding rather than the word tolerate. And a person Insan Sejahtera hopefully is a person that is confident of his or her national identity, jati diri, a nation builder, very important, and a global citizen. Okay, and hopefully the graduates that are job creators and change makers, and graduates that care about humanity. And we also want to empower the talents that we train to be action-oriented leaders who will deliver solutions that will ensure sustainability of change. All right, so that means to create impact. So basically, in short, ladies and gentlemen, expectation of the universities is to go through research, development, commercialization, creating of enterprises, and creating economic engagement to help humanity and create wealth for the country. So in the new era, the new current thinking is the era of convergence. This is the era of convergence. This is the era of data analytics, 3D printing, robotics, artificial intelligence, you name it. So basically in this era, we are no longer working in silo disciplines, all right? Because now information sharing is very, very important, and therefore we need to move to a transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach. We need to collaborate, and we need to do this via teamwork, all right? So it's no longer about you know, how people safeguard the information and knowledge that they have by being in control, by being secretive. But right now we are talking about information sharing and collaborative network, because you don't worry, whatever you think is a knowledge that you can hide, now with artificial intelligence and big data, you cannot hide anything. Basically they can find it, you know. So and collaboration, to have collaboration is based on trust and trustworthiness. If there is no trust, there is no sharing of information. That means your personal traits, your character must now be able to ensure trust is there, honesty, integrity must be there before anyone will want to collaborate with you. So you can see that for even in the future, you have to begin by changing yourself first, make yourself better, and from there, you will now work and collaborate to make now the outcome and the impact that you want to have for industry as well as for the Ummah. Because in teaching and learning now, as has been said by the Boeing Senior Vice President, today's educators are preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies not yet invented to solve problems not yet identified. So if this is the way it is tomorrow, whatever we teach today is going to be blasé 1 year from now, even 6 months from now. whatever that you force the student to learn is also going to change. So basically, it's better to tell the student and teach the student to be flexible, to be adaptable, to be agile, and respond to change. That is the best thing that you can equip them with. Because tomorrow is about a lot of unknowns, and a lot of people, including academics at the moment, are in fear of the unknown. When you cannot control the situation, you fear that situation. But this is now a new era, and you have to now teach the student to be comfortable with change. Right? So basically, this is now having to undergo learning, unlearning, relearning, co-learning, and co-creation. This is something that we need to do right now, from jobs to roles, and from job seeker to become a job creator. That is the best that we can equip the students for the future. So academics per se must become lifelong learners, all right, and respond to change, not just simply change for the sake of change, but change guided by intrinsic values. So this is there, and that's why I have always believed in this mantra of learn, unlearn, relearn again, and then co-learn with people, co-learn with society, because it takes a whole village to educate a child. So basically, we also understand that the students cannot learn everything from the classroom. They also need to learn from society. And whatever we now, this two-way street of co-learning, let's not stop at just learning, let's stop at creating. So we need to co-create things together. So if we understand this is the requirement of the 21st century universities, so essentially as academics, you actually have a journey, right? And this journey of the 21st century academics, we have the journey when we start, we're talking about teaching and learning, TNL, and then we talk about research. These are the main basic things. If I was in the health campus, I would say service as well. So teaching and learning, research, service, administration, whatever. If we now have as that part of the journey, you know that you have to give lectures, you have to find grants, you have to do graduate supervision, you have to publish in journals, you have to help the students publish, etc. So basically, we have to do all these things, and we are inundated basically with KPI. And when we start to do this kind of KPI, we all get tired. And by that time, actually, you have not reached your final endpoint journey of becoming a researcher, because you are retired at the KPI stage. But basically, in this journey of creating knowledge with impact or wisdom, you know, to answer the question, to produce knowledge that will benefit the Ummah, we now need to move from just research to now the creation of prototype, to undergo field testing and clinical trials if need be, to produce patents, to undergo commercialization. And when we undergo commercialization, it's basically now to help the community or to help the industry. And when we help the community, there's a lot of KIP, key intangible performance associated there. But when you now produce impact for the community and impact for the industry, so that for wealth creation of the country, we are now talking about KRI, key result indicator. And basically, before you even hit the KRI, you are already tired here as well. So we face with academic that is tired in the beginning and also tired towards the end, and basically a lot of us did not reach the final end point of what the journey for academic is. To come all the way to KRI, to be able to create knowledge that will benefit the Ummah. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, you need perseverance to complete your journey. You need this perseverance because you have to see that this journey is the Ibadah. This is the journey that is required of us as academics, who are generators of knowledge, who are disseminators of knowledge, and we are the translators of knowledge that can now be used for the industry, for wealth creation of the country, or to be used for the community, for societal well-being. So essentially, this is the journey for academics that is there. So if we now want to talk about leadership in the university, I guess we have to start by saying that there must be a higher purpose in life. And it's better if that higher purpose is with meaning, right? So the Prophet ﷺ had said, when a man dies, his deeds come to an end except for three things: sedekah jariyah, a knowledge which is beneficial, or a virtuous descendant who prays for the deceased, right? So if you look at these three things, right, you now say that as academic, I guess we are so fortunate because we have the ability to deliver all three, right? Not every Tom, Dick and Harry on the road can deliver all three, because except for academics who now will be able to do the research, generate new knowledge, and be able to create knowledge that is of beneficial. So, and we are so fortunate to be able to do that because we are in the position to generate knowledge that is beneficial, because it so happened that this is our core business. So this should be au natural for us to be able to do this. So as a Khalifah, as I said, everyone is a leader with the responsibility to lead humankind to the right path. So as an academic, we are all leaders in our own micro environment. You are a leader in your household. You are a leader among your students in the classroom. You are a leader among your postgraduate students. You are a leader as a dean, or you are a leader as a professor. So we have all that, right? So we are all leaders. But among us, there are leaders among the leaders. What we call a professor among the professors. Okay, so there's always someone that had that a little bit higher, a little bit more than others. So in the administrative role, basically a leader among the leaders can be a dean or a director, or can be a TNC, Deputy Vice Chancellor, or even a Vice Chancellor or Rector. So that is there. But if you want to be a VC, or even if you are top management of a public university, I have to reiterate here, public university is not quite the same thing as being a leader in a CEO, or as a CEO or top management of a company. All right, so because the company, the bottom line is profits. For a public university, is a university that does public good. So that is different, right? So that's why when you talk about, when you start to read about leadership, you have to ask, this is leadership where? Leadership in a company, or leadership in a private university, or is it leadership in a public university? So perhaps the leadership in a private university can be equated that to that of a company, but leadership in a public university, this is not on. All right, so we have to be now conscious about this fact, because being a leader in the public university, of course, now they say that vice chancellors or rectors of university, because of the low amount of money, operational money that we are now getting, all the vice chancellors also have to be entrepreneurial mindset and not give away everything for free. So we have to be entrepreneurial mindset to make sure that the university is now creating an income. Yeah, but in the university, we also have to deal with iconic professors, with the brightest and some of the brightest academics in the country. And basically, to be a leader among leaders, especially in a public university, you have to gain their respect. As Aretha Franklin says, REPCT, as the song goes, right? So basically, that respect need to be there before you can become a leader in a public university. So again, if you are in the top management or even the number one, it's no longer about self-establishment, basically is to gain power and respect, but rather a leader that will bring purpose to university, because everybody is watching. We are all Khalifahs, right? So we'll be all watching, what is that guy or a lady going to do about turning around the university? Where is that person leading us? And is that person using the vast knowledge and wisdom to do good for humanity and helping in nation building? That is also important for us to see. So I don't know why anybody wants to be the vice chancellor, but so many wants to vie for that position. But that position, ladies and gentlemen, is loaded with responsibility and accountability. So to be the number one of the university, first mirror on the wall and ask yourself, do you have what it takes to be one? If you don't have what it takes to be one, don't be one. All right, because this is not good for the university. So to have what it takes, you also have to go through the step-by-step leadership training, or what we call competency framework, to create competency to become a dean, to become a director, to become a TNC, to become a vice chancellor. There is a step-by-step training for you to be able to do that. And basically there are no shortcuts, and you have to climb the ladder step by step. And basically they say to be the vice chancellor, usually the person is of a certain age group because of the experience that need to be there. But I have to say this, it's not about your age, it's about the experiential learning, it's about the experience that you have. It doesn't, you can be a young one, but make sure you're loaded with experience to be able now to bring the university to the next level. So some people, they have political incline, they have political knowledge, so they can make a shortcut. Maybe they are not ready yet, but they want to be today the vice chancellor or today the TNC. So you can have the shortcut. But let me tell you one thing, based on experience and based on observation, you will falter if the wisdom and competency to lead is not there. Because the bright professors and the bright Khalifahs that is there in the academia will read you like a book. They also know you don't have what it takes. And when that happens, you lose the respect of the people. They may obey you because of your position as the number one, but they will not respect you. And I think this is very important take-home message that we all need to understand regarding leadership. So to be a great leader, you need the cooperation and buy-in of everyone in order to move the university forward. Look, this is now the digital era. Everybody has a WhatsApp, everybody has a Facebook, everybody knows where everybody and whatever you are doing. They all know that, right? So basically, we are all informed society. So it's no longer about dictatorial. I don't think the era of dictatorial is here to stay anymore. This is now the era of having a transformational leadership via consultative discussions or shura with the stakeholders, and if possible, with academia is okay, but with all levels of academia and not just the top management, with the stakeholders, that is the best approach. And this is known as interactive or participatory leadership, which is also known as muzakarah and muafakat. And this has been correlated, and studies have shown that if you do this kind of leadership, it's going to be you're going to create a better organizational performance and a better job satisfaction among the staff. Look, everybody is a member of IIUM. You all want a piece of the action of how IIUM move forward. We all want to be able to participate. We all want to contribute because we have a sense of belonging to the university. But if our ideas are not taken care of, are not listened to, then you feel as if you're just a follower. So you're just a backbencher. So this is not on, because everybody wants to be able to contribute. So this is how you now move the organization forward, by attaining the buy-in or consensus. And once you get the consensus, it's not to go back to what you think. This is the one that I get to see. Some leaders, they pretend by saying, okay, this is a consensus, this is the way forward. But when they make decision, the decision is all theirs. They went against what the consensus is saying. And this is not on. Basically, if you have a consensus, then you must empower and ensure that the decisions that is carried out by the university is according to the mandate as given by the consensus. All right. So if you are talking about this now, we also need to come to grips with the fact that leadership concepts can vary. You can have consensus, but at the end of the day, it can be someone who is in. When we talk about leadership, you have someone in front, and then you have the followers behind. In Bahasa, it's called ketua. Okay, but you can also have someone who is who gives ideas, give visionary ideas, put up some thoughts for discussion and whatnot. Someone who work together as a team, they are joining hands and moving together in unison. So basically, this is another form of leadership in the sense that you are the VC or the rector, but you are also part of the team to help things to move forward. And depending on situations and maturity of the university, this I must add, okay, IIUM is 37 years, USM is 50 years, so we are more mature basically as a university compared to IIUM. But basically in the different levels and of the university, you also need different kinds of leadership. When you're first starting, perhaps you need the authoritative kind. But when you are now moving to 37 years, you're moving to 50 years like USM or most of the research universities, no longer authoritative. This is simply not on. This is now the need to go to participatory upon maturity of the university. But in short, what I want to say is that leadership is fluid. You can switch leadership styles depending on the situation. All right, some situation on in terms of emergency situation, you need to make a decision and you need to make a call on that decision. So this is some of the things that you need to think about. So leadership, of course, you can ask the question, well, I'm here in the kuliah, don't know, don't care what's happening with the rest of the university. As long as I do my job, I do my work, I get my pay, that's end of it. I do not want to be a dean. I do not want to be moving up to TNC. That's not my area. I just want to be able to contribute and be able to do good. Well, you can talk about that, but very important to know that whoever takes the leadership in the university matters. Why? Because the person is an influencer and that person can make a difference to the rise or fall of the university. The person can also determine whether you get job satisfaction. You can live in your cocoon, but whether you get job satisfaction or not is also dependent on who is the leader for your kuliah, who is the leader for your university. So he or she can also determine, as I said, job satisfaction for the academic and staff, right? An influencer, ladies and gentlemen, is the voice of reason that you turn to. So the VC or whoever is the dean, the number one in the environment has got to be transformational, in that the person have to be articulate and the person has to be charismatic. Who's going to listen to someone who's boring to death, for God's sake? You know, so basically you need to be articulate and you need to be able to express yourself well in order to be able to influence and to be able to express your thoughts and your opinions so that people now understand what exactly are you bringing them to or bringing them forward to. So, but and the thing is, it's important that all of us understand about leadership because, you know, VCs, presidents, rectors, they all come and go. 3 years you have one, another 3 years you have another one, and you have to readjust yourself to a new number one and what new number one thinks about how he's going to move, he or she wants to move to university. You have a new dean, you also need to adjust and now to find out how you need to adjust to this new person, how they are leading the kuliah. So basically at the end of the day, we all need to have a stand as to what kind of leadership we are as individuals. That's what Khalifah is all about. Because those who stay, that will actually determine the destiny of the university. All right, people come, people go as number one, but the rest of us are what makes IIUM. So IIUM is you and you are IIUM. So this is something that I think we need to understand. So it's important that when given a chance, when finally you're given a chance to be a leader in university, you must take responsibility and accountability till the last minute. I've always seen the kind of leader that says, okay, this is the time where they pension or they finish becoming the number one and they clock out and everybody celebrate their clocking out at 5 o'clock. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, as long as when I was BC of USM or when I was BC of USIM or even when I was DG, I did not clock in at 5, clock out at 5. I was still at work until 12 midnight because at 12:01, I'm no longer the number one. But before that, I still have all the powers vested in me as the number one for the university. So this is something that you need to now understand, that you are not really free until 12 midnight of the day, of the last day of the university. So there's still a lot of decisions that can be made during that last moment. Right, many last hurrahs that can be done as well. So when you are a leader, make informed decision, and that's why data is very, very important. Whoever is in the PTJ that is now serving for the rector should provide the rector with the correct data as to what's going on in the university. The correct data, the correct statistics, the correct information, because you need to make informed decision when you're running the university. You need to show values and wisdom to lead, with the understanding that there is a rapid change in the world and that you have the accountability and responsibility to produce future generations that can adapt to what's happening in the changing world. So, and all that, basically, you may ask yourself, well, how do I get there? How do I get to be where the rector is? So basically, wisdom comes from experiential learning. So if you now ask me, operationalizing leadership, right? How do I start to become a good leader? I mean, we are all Khalifah, right? We are all leader, but how do I become a good leader? All right. First, if you want to become a good leader, hands down, you first need to improve yourself and your intrinsic values. It has to start with you. The numero uno, the number one is you. Change must happen with you. If you don't change, then nothing else will work, right? So, and after that, after you say, okay, you've done your best to move and become a better human being, a better Muslim, all right, and a better Muslim academic, all right. So then you go on to, let's say you want to read about some of the leaders, you want to be listening to lectures like what you're doing now and seminars. Okay, let me tell you, you can be reading, you can be listening to all these lectures and seminars and give you good, and they will probably give you some good information, and you say to yourself, yeah, I'm learning from what she's saying, or maybe I'm not learning from what she's saying. But let me tell you one thing, you listen is okay, but it does not develop your leadership skills, right? So to be a leader, you must have the courage and you must have the commitment. And this comes with skills and experience. And only then can you speak in a crowd with wisdom, a voice of reason, all right? And basically you can tell who is the voice of reason. Usually when I chair a meeting, I look around who is around the table. And when somebody is talking, where is their eye? Where is that eye looking at? To whom is that eye looking at? If that eye is looking to this one person in the room, then you know that is the voice of reason that they need to convince. Because these are the things of what we call body language that you now, as an administrator, if you're on the VC, you now look. If you are chairing, you look at who's the influencer, and you will now be able to pull that professor or that person to come into the team and be able to tell you what's going on, because he is or she is the voice of reason. So this is what I mean. It's something that you don't realize, but it's always there. You do it automatically when you are talking to someone, to an audience in the room. Your eye, especially in a meeting, you will see that happening. So and how can you start to become a good leader? Start by taking on the worst assignments at work, and then you say, what, is she crazy? Basically, it's like this: the more you take on, the more you learn. All right. When I was at USM, Tan Sri Zul is my Vice Chancellor, and I was his Deputy Vice Chancellor for research. And while other Deputy Vice Chancellors for academic look at teaching and learning, for student affairs look at students, for industry linkage look at industries, I am the TNC of R&D at that time, research and development. That means I take care of everything that the other TNCs do not take care of. So basically, I take care of finance, I take care of pembangunan, I take care of the snakes, the biawaks, the rivers, the whole thing, everything. And of course, to take care of the research to make sure USM is number one, RU. So all these things I had to do. And I have basically gone to Tan Sri and said, Tan Sri, please reduce my work. It's like too much for me, and I was the only woman in the top management. I said, this is too much for me. And he said to me, carry on, and you can do it. That's all he said. And I find that this learning that I went through is the best learning experience I had, because when I moved to become the Vice Chancellor of USIM, everything just falls into place. I can do budget, I can do development, I can do anything and everything. So this experience is important because you already know what kind of mistakes you make while you're doing this, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is that you can be a cut above as a leader by lead via learning. That's what I'm trying to say. So find a big problem and volunteer to solve it. And to me, it's okay to make mistakes because you will learn from that mistake, because that's what a human being is all about, to be able to learn from the mistake and make yourself a better human being. So leaders learn by doing through experience and not just by talking. Yeah. So basically, to me, I find that all of us are leaders, but to be a good leader, leadership cannot be taught, it can be learned. So you can now, basically some people say, oh, you're born to be a leader, and that some of you, if you don't have it, you don't have it. If you have it, you have it. Well, if we are Khalifahs, we are all born to be leaders, but basically it's just that some do better than us. So we need to learn how can they do better than us. So this is some of the things that I'm trying to say. Shukran, you should now get a lot of people wanting with their hands up and say, oh, give me more work, because then I will learn to become a good leader, inshallah. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here, experiential learning, ladies and gentlemen, is very important, because it will build your character, it will build your intrinsic values, and you can be a better human being there, because there's a lot to learn out there. And so how now do I now go about moving up the ladder step by step, right? I'm going to now operationalizing this for the young academics and the middle and the senior academics. So academics aspire to be leaders basically have three main challenges to overcome. Number one, right, to be in academia, make sure that you have a good and solid education. This is from primary school to secondary school to university, all right, kind of education, even postdoc level, basically to have a good and solid education that will now prepare you to have a good academic career with leadership qualities, all right? And these are some of the edge that you see with those who are leaders with a cut above, because they usually have a very good and solid education at the primary, secondary, and also tertiary levels, and also when they go abroad. So upon joining, however, upon joining the university as young academics, make sure that you have academic standing in your field of expertise and undergo experiential learning to be a leader. Bottom line, as a young academic, be good in your area of expertise and be a domain expert. Do not yet hold admin posts, but make sure, first of all, when you come into the university, concentrate and be a good person, academic standing in your field of expertise, what they hire you to do, right? And then on the level of maturity, you can now talk about becoming a leader and how to overcome barriers in leadership position. So those successful, okay, what did I say just now? I said that if you want to be a leader, a dean, a professor of professors, a VC or TNC in a university, especially in the public university, you need to get RESPCT. So you need to get respect. And you cannot be a TNC R&D when your research is nowhere. How do I now, as a professor, be able to respect what you have to say when you are not even an icon in that field? So basically, those successful in the domain areas are in a better position to be elected as a leader, because they will put round pegs in round hole. Those who are very good in academic and teaching and learning, especially, and innovative teaching and learning, they should now be involved in as a deputy dean or as a dean. But those who are good in research should be the directors of centers of excellence of research, etc., or even move up to become the TNC of or the deputy vice chancellor for research or responsible research, as you put it. And those who are very good in industry linkages should now be part of jaringan industry, and those who are very good in community engagement should now be able to do that, right? So this is what I mean by be good in your area of expertise. So for young, early career academic, all right, you need to strive to be a domain expert. And to do that, you gotta believe in yourself, and what you do matters for discipline knowledge, to enhance your discipline and also to create the impact to society. So as a young academic, don't think very much, just publish, 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 because you need to create that academic standing, and this publish can be writing journals, can be doing all those things, but you need to do one thing, right? Quality, responsible research that has impact to the industry or even to the society. So this is quality research. What I'm afraid of is that if you don't have guidance, you will do research, okay, no problem, but it's not necessarily quality research. Remember, what is the end game? When you die, what is left with you is knowledge that is beneficial, not knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but knowledge that is beneficial to create impact. So this is very important. Who guides you to do this? This is where you should be with professors among the professors who will now guide you to do quality work, right? And not just simply publish for the sake of KPI. Because, and then the thing is, well, how do I go about it? I'm in the field, people are now moving science, technology, but I'm in the social science. I don't know anything about technology. How do I move? All right. Basically, you have to now understand, yeah. Today, knowledge is huge, people, H-U-G-E, that no one can now be in control of the kind of amount of knowledge that is now generated every day. And therefore, please remember, no one is an island. So you can jumpstart by collaborating with people, especially with members of IIUM. So what if you're in social science? You need now to have convergence of knowledge to move research today. And so we need social scientists, you need people in the religion to guide us, and we need people in science and technology, we need people in IT. So we need to now be able to collaborate and move in a multidisciplinary manner, and we jumpstart that. There's no need for you to become expert in everything. So, and you can create now peer network, all right, both locally and internationally. So find mentors to be able to support and help you, but also realize that what's good for the mentors is not necessarily good for you. So at the end of the day, you still need to find your own path, people. So basically, you know, you are still a Khalifah on your own. You can listen, you can find these mentors, but you still need to find your own path. And basically, when you are the junior one in a meeting, if Professor Shukran calls for this meeting, be heard. Don't just keep silent, be heard. There's even worse when you keep silent and at the end of the day, you know, you just bitch about it, but you don't discuss about it. So be heard, but be realistic in what you have to say. So people will take you more seriously if you speak from experience, and therefore experiential learning is very important. You need to build self-confidence, because having self-confidence will push you to create a positive change by opening doors for others who come after you. So do not feel threatened. You need to be good in what you do and choose a life partner well that is supportive, especially for women. So need to move from quantity to quality, from output to outcome. So for mid-career academics, overcome this domain area barriers by establishing good support, create an academic standing in your area of expertise, both in public and private sector, and start by giving keynotes or be an invited speaker. This is not the time for just joining conferences. You have to create academic standing when you start to become an invited speaker, and strive to also be an innovator with academia and industry. So essentially, you need to work hard, play hard, publish with integrity, and perform responsible, impactful research, and be an action-oriented research leader. You also need to supervise graduate students, perform community engagement, and take up administration after confirmation, not before. So if possible, be a domain expert before you start to take up an admin position. Again, there's no shortcut. You have to climb the ladder one at a time. And when you do become a leader, when opportunity knocks, open the door. And when you are a leader, use empowerment basically to build trust and excellence in the organization, because empowerment is about influencing people by providing what is the purpose, what is the direction, what is the motivation, while operating to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. And today's leadership is about participatory, so that means consensus, you need to get the buy-in. Empowerment basically is important because it builds confidence in people to innovate and create in delivering the decision or action plan for the university. And it creates trust in the organization because you say, yes, I empower you because I trust in you also to be able to now develop and move the university. And this will now be able to create the new layers of future leaders. And of course, a good leader must have good listening skills. And you must agree to make decisions, but you must follow through that decision made on a consensus, all right? And I have said that leadership can be fluid. So how to empower the young academics? We need to start mentorship and sponsorship program to guide the young academic to senior management or leaders. Mentorship is about giving advice and guidance, but what's important to me is sponsorship, because sponsorship is about advocacy. So when you are a sponsor, you will go beyond mentoring. A sponsor will make things happen for you. Who suggests you to be the TNC? Who suggests you to be the VC? Usually it's the sponsor. Because they will give opportunities and guide the young academic and actually open the door for them. But once you go through that door, it's all you, all right? So you have to now, sponsors and all that can only open the door for you. But it is also important that who opens the door for you and who recommends you. So this makes the sponsorship more important than mentors because they play an active role to allow the young to climb to the desired position. So, but in order to do that, you must also be a person of substance for the sponsor to make recommendation and open the door for you. So these are, in summary, the steps involved in leadership. You have to have accessibility to good education, undergo career development, as I said, for young academics and middle career academics, and also undergo competency framework in training for you to become a leader, so that when you do become one, empower others. Give me 10 minutes, Lihanna, I need to talk about research leadership.
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
As long as you are working as a university lecturer, you need to show leadership in research. And the ability to generate new knowledge and translate that knowledge for the benefit of the ummah, this is what differentiates the lecturer from a school teacher, right? So if you ask what is the purpose of doing research, it's going back to basic. It's done to enhance innovation and provide solutions that threaten humanity. So if not all researchers basically most researchers, if not all, are motivated by the fact that they do research because they want to make a difference in the world. And to make that difference is to create an impact. And one way is to create impact to provide solutions to SDG. Of course, you're going to ask the question, what are you so hung up on SDG? Why do we want to talk about SDG? Because if you look at the 17 SDG, it covers all that global challenges that I mentioned in the big picture just now. So, but how you provide the solution to the SDG, you can do it #IIUM style. So this is where your spirituality, the religion all start to come in. So if you talk about impact, is the effect that research has beyond academia, and it must be demonstrable, not just beyond academia, but cannot demonstrate. So impact is not about how you develop the vaccine. It's not about what is the biomarkers that make the vaccine, but it's about whether the vaccine works. This is impact. This is results driven. So impact is not about the process, but it's about the result. So therefore, it will shift from pure research excellence to about publication. In the journey of quality, you need to have publication of quality, but that's not the end. The end game for that new generation of knowledge is to create impact. So impact matters because it will help us to focus on what is the overall purpose of why we do this research and help to ensure the best not just ROI, but return of value. So then you may ask the question, what am I doing? All this while I'm a professor at this university, I have been producing so much impact factor, so much citation. Am I not creating impact? Well, let me tell you, there are two kinds of impact. One is academic and the other one is societal impact. So we need to now move to real world impact. If you talk about academic impact, this is about demonstrable contribution to dissemination of knowledge, like you enter the quality conferences, you buy publication, you deliver research seminars, etc. And the activities above are good, but not good enough to create tangible change. Why? Because they are limited, they have limited reach, because when you just disseminate publication, etc., has limited reach and restricted only to academic audience. And it does not go beyond makcik-pakcik. It doesn't go to the academia, beyond academia. So in post-COVID-19, you now see a difference, because now we can go on online webinar, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Facebook, and now suddenly you see democratization of knowledge. Now everybody can be listening to the talk. So why do we now continue to do academic impact if what we want is a societal impact? Because in terms of academic impact, it's more convenient and easier to measure the output rather than the outcome. Outcome is more difficult to measure. So therefore, it's easier, more convenient for administrators to write annual reports. So that's why they say, okay, continue with publication. But at the end of the day, ask the question, who are we trying to educate? Are we trying to educate our peers, or are we trying to educate the public? So basically, it should be both. So most of the time, we are basically need to now talk about expected impact, right? So what did the vaccine work? Because if we continue to just publish, academic impact, good, but the rakyat will not benefit, the ummah will not benefit from what you do. To them, we have not created a sustainable change in their lives of livelihood. Industries also do not benefit from us, because our role as a knowledge generator is basically to enhance the wealth creation and societal well-being. So in this way, knowledge that we generated can finally be benefited. So basically, we need to create knowledge for change. That means to move from impact factor to actually real impact. So how do you measure impact? Right, so if we say from T0, they don't aware about very much, but now they get an understanding and awareness has increased, there's also impact. Attitudinal change is also impact. Economic change, there's a better impact to see. Societal change, cultural change, policy change, from not being health to now healthy and more and better well-being, that is also an impact. Capacity, preparedness, environmental change, all these are ways to measure impact. But how now do we start to move towards impactful research? To me, this is imperative, because we need to increase the impact of research in the real world rather than simply within the academic community. Because as Nobel Prize winners, you will not be given the Nobel Prize, and it's only given when humankind can benefit from the knowledge generated. So performance of impactful research is usually the complex interaction with the quadruple helix. So to help with Malaysia's economic recovery plan post-COVID-19, we also need to produce real impact. So the future of research is actually looking for results, key result indicator, rather than just KPI plus KIP. So perhaps my suggestion is that the Sejahtera academic framework should also not just consider KPI plus KIP, but also KPI plus KIP equals KRI, key result indicator. As Steve Jobs says, a follower is someone who follows orders and a leader is someone who sets example. So we must learn the difference between the two and then decide who we want to be. If you want to be a leader, you must master the art of innovation. And this is to be a domain expert in your field of expertise. This is because you need to set an example to be a good leader, and you will only be a good leader by setting an example with your actions and work. And therefore, to be a leader, we must stay true to the statement, by example we lead, and that is backed by your innovation. So I believe that this is high time where we inject values into R&I. We need now to talk about return of values rather than just ROI, return of investment. And the COVID has taught us that we need to place emphasis on people and values, and it's time that we move from just output to now impact. And to do that, we need to collaborate, and we need innovation for wealth creation as well as societal well-being, because this in turn will help for community and nation by creating jobs and new opportunities for business, and to have also a healthy and progressive nation. So I need to move quickly now to bring research innovation to the community, to go beyond academic community, so that we can now undergo community engagement, and that now becomes an important journey to create impact and should be part of the academic curriculum. In fact, the blueprint is also asking that the students undergo experiential learning via community engagement. And community engagement, let me put to you this way, this is not about community service. A lot of people get this wrong. Community engagement is about two-way street learning. It's not about giving the fish, it's about teaching the people to use the fishing rod. So it's not just about the people being the recipient of your innovation or your knowledge output, but it's about engaging and empowering the people with the new knowledge. So how can IIUM be different? So I have the advice from the Muslim Nobel laureate Ahmad Zuhail, who says that if we work on research topics that the West is not interested in, we will always be 20 years ahead. But if we work on topics that the West is interested in, we will be 20 years behind. This, in short, ladies and gentlemen, is Blue Ocean strategy, to boldly go where no one has gone before. So my question is, no one is interested to help the poor and marginalized, which IIUM can definitely champion. So in short, I would say stop playing catching up and turn around the way we do research. Address the needs of the 5 billion poor people on the planet, and those below the poverty line in Malaysia. Concentrate on research outcomes and technology development that will reduce inequity, enhance sustainability, and that includes making it available for the first time, making it affordable, making it accessible, appropriate to the quality of innovation, appropriate to the culture of the people who needs it. So bring high tech to high touch. And this is where we undergo now real world experiences via community engagement to transfer that solution to make a sustainable change. So in the Blue Ocean strategy aspect, this is where we provide local solution to answer global problems and help the people of the poor, and hopefully balance impact with impact factor. And this is where future graduate students should be nurturing action-oriented leaders, especially among the young academics who are now able to provide sustainable solutions for humanity to use. So in short, I come now to the question of where higher education is going. A university should end game be respected, be referred, and be relevant. And the academics can decide to be relevant to the private sector or to be relevant to society, but both ends to have values driven. If you are relevant to society, you can provide solutions to elevate rural technological tradition. You can, your work may not be published in the high impact journals of the world, but you can have a reasonable budget investment to do this kind of research. If you're moving the private sector, they need to be competitive. You need to come up with the blue sky research. You need a high budget investment. But the question is, why can't we do both? Why can't we have high tech and high touch? That university, so that we can now be values driven learning and research experience. So this is where I say that impact should be balanced with impact factor. So basically, I end by saying that what you do has a greater impact than what you say. And I hope that this, I look forward to the learning experience that I will get from you based on your feedback today. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.